Welcome into the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson.
I'm Chandler Holt.
Welcome back. It is the first time we've done this show together in over a month. And a lot has changed with the Utah Jazz. We are not going to recap the entire last month, but I do think it's fair to acknowledge that the Jazz are in a completely different spot today than they were the last time you and I did the show together. Appreciate everybody who stuck with us throughout the holidays, tried to do as many shows as we could and a lot of solo shows. But back together and should be for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine, between now and the draft that we're going to slow down a whole lot, assuming the Jazz are going to have their draft pick, and it looks like that is the direction they're headed. And we can say that now comfortably because the Jazz are on a losing streak. They've lost 4 straight. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this upcoming 6-game homestand that they begin tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and kind of what it looks like going up to the All-Star break. Little news and notes, not a whole lot here, maybe some All-Star voting. And then, as always, we will answer your mailbag questions to wrap up the show.
We can look back a little bit to start off the show. I want to go a couple weeks back when we had previewed the Jazz's schedule throughout the year. We were kind of predicting how many wins they're going to pick up throughout the year. And I pointed out, and you acknowledged this, to start the new year, 9 of 11 games on the road. That was sort of like the turning point we thought for the Jazz, and it has turned out to be that way. 2-8 over 10 of those games, and one of the wins came at home in that little 2-game stop at home. So yeah, went from at the new year 12-21, now at 14-29. Since the last episode of Jazz Notes, though, it was a 1-4 week win over the Cavaliers. That was a shocking one, 123-112. Lost to the Bulls by 2. Back-to-back losses to the Mavs, a 22-point loss and an 18-point loss, and then most recently lost to the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama, 123-110.
I think the Jazz were probably comfortable going 1-4 on that road trip. I think that was or 1-3 on the road trip as a 4-game trip, right? Or was it a 5-game trip? 5-game trip.
Yes.
They were probably comfortable going 1-4 on the trip. And everyone was surprised when they won the first one because it was like, oh man, if you can beat Cleveland, you can beat Chicago and Dallas, maybe not San Antonio again, but how many wins are they going to pick up? And then they didn't win another one.
Yes.
And the reason they didn't win another one is because Will Hardy basically shifted to an entirely young lineup where outside of last night, where you did see Kevin Love and Jusuf Nurkic back on the court. In fact, they played together against Chicago, Dallas, and Dallas. The starting lineup was Keontae George. It was Ace Bailey. It was Cody Williams. It was Bryce Sensabaugh, and it was Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah.
Like, that's the 5-man losing lineup that the Jazz are running out there with. Now, look, I think Jazz fans have wanted to see these young lineups for a long time. There's questions of why is Jusuf Nurkic playing over anybody? Why is Kevin Love playing over anybody? And it's not necessarily how I feel, but for Jazz fans who only want to see development and only want to see the team lose games to get their draft pick, those are the types of lineups you need to play, and I suspect we will see them sprinkled in a lot throughout the rest of the year in games that the Jazz probably are not that interested in winning.
I will say it isn't as pretty when, say, Larry Markkinen and Jusuf Nurkic is out there, but I was really intrigued to see how Keontae George was running the show with these all, 22, 23, and younger lineups.
I call it the 1-2-3 lineup. It's all first, second, and third year players. It's the 1-2-3 lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, again, some of the games weren't very impressive. I think it was the first game against the Dallas Mavericks. He just had 17, 3-3. Not a bad game by any means, but also not kind of what we're starting to get used to with Keontae George. And then against the Spurs, again, you mentioned Jusuf Nurkic's back. He was in the starting lineup for this one. Most recent game, he bounces back. He has 30 points. Shooting percentages weren't great. He did shoot 40% from 3, but 6 assists. Keontae George is still on a tear. He's still tearing it up. I don't think he's all-star level yet, especially we have gotten those first all-star voting returns, but I have liked what we've seen from Keontae, especially in the young lineups.
Agreed. I'm just fully bought in on Keontae. I'm a believer. I think he's a foundational piece going forward. He's going to be one of the Jazz's 3 best players over the next 5 years. Yeah. It's going to be he and Lowry and whoever else is the other guy, whether that's Ace Bailey or whoever they draft this year or whoever they trade the pick for or whatever the development is. Those are going to be 2 of your top 3 guys. Now they just got to find that third guy and then build out the rest of the roster. And I think the next 39 games are about auditioning guys on this team who can earn a role.
Yeah.
And look, that might not just be Cody Williams or Taylor Hendricks or Bryce Sensabaugh, who we should talk about coming up here momentarily. It might be Jusuf Nurkic. It might be Svi Mykhailiuk. Like, if Nurk is your backup center going forward, everyone seems to really like Nurk right now. Like, Nurk is really pretty beloved, it seems like. The players have his back. He's got their back, clearly. He's gotten in, arguments with people on Twitter about his teammates. Nurk is bought in, and I think Jazz fans should, he could get traded in the next 2.5 weeks.
Yes.
The trade deadline is 2 weeks from Thursday, so it's right around the corner. I haven't heard anything on the trade front from the Jazz, and again, they've been out of town. I will try and do some scrounging coming up now over the next six games because they're at home. But Jazz may not make any moves at the trade deadline, And some of these guys just could be back next year. I mean, like if Kevin Love was back next year, and the Jazz were like, yeah, we loved Kevin Love. It was like, it's the 11th guy on the roster. He's not going to play as much next year as he did this year, but he clearly has some value when he's on the court and some real know-how. Is there anything wrong with that? Like Svi plays well when he's on the court. Svi's really good. If Svi's in the rotation next year, like he should probably be your 7th man or your 8th man, but that's a good player.
Yes.
And he's really cheap. Like that allows you to do other things by overpaying other players to get them to come to Utah. So that's what's been interesting. But let's talk about Bryce, because Bryce did have the week that's worth talking about for sure.
Started against the Bulls. He was put into the starting lineup. He had 43 points, I believe 21.
He actually didn't come up. He didn't start. That's the weird thing. He hasn't started in any of these games. I was wrong. Did I say he started in these? He didn't start in any of these games. He was coming off the bench in all 3 of these. So again, the starting lineup was Isaiah Collier, Keontae, Cody, Ace, and Kyle Filipowski, excuse me.
Yeah, in this Bulls game, though, he had as many minutes as anybody. He has the same amount of minutes as Keontae George. He ends with 43 points. I believe 21 of those points came in the first quarter. He shot 15 for 22 from the floor, 5 for 10 from 3, and then he followed that up, again, like career night, absolutely ridiculous game from Bryce Sensabaugh. He follows that up with 27, so he had 70 points over 2-game stretch in the middle of the week.
And then had 25 the game after that.
Yeah.
So, like, he went on a real tear. And what's notable here is that he was getting 15 shots.
Yes.
Right? He got 22 shots against Chicago, 15 against Dallas, and then another 20 against Dallas in the second game. When he gets a lot of chances to shoot the ball, he produces a lot.
Yeah.
The proof is there that when those opportunities are given to him, he scores. When he has taken 15 or more shots in a game this year, he scored 20 every single time. So it's not like he has bad nights when you call his number. The question is, how do you call his number within the flow of what the rest of the team is doing? Because the way Bryce plays is pretty disruptive.
Yes.
He's a ball stopper.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Al Jefferson, but Al Jefferson was a back-to-the-basket big, and Bryce Sensabaugh is a perimeter isolation scorer. He's extraordinarily gifted, though, as an isolation scorer. Like, that's a real thing. When you were looking at, we've talked about players the Jazz could trade for. Jonathan Kuminga's a name that's been popular for 2 years now. We talked about Benedict Mathurin and kind of what they do. Those guys are also ball stoppers. It's kind of the why they don't fit in with the flow of their teams and why their teams are looking at moving off of them. But they can score 30 when you give them the ball. Jonathan Kuminga scored 30 in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Benedict Mathurin, I think, has scored 30 in a playoff game in their run last year. At least had some huge games for Indiana when they were hurting. Bryce can absolutely do that. How do you maximize it? How do you figure out how to use it? Because it's clearly not just, we'll make him the 6th man and let him go. He's been the 6th man all year and he's not doing this every night. So how do you develop that? Is it worth developing? And how do you get it to actually help you win basketball games? Because it is worth noting that he did these in 3 games. The Jazz lost 2 of them. They lost badly.
Yes. You talked earlier about Keontae George mentioning how he's a part of the future. This week has really made me think about what Bryce's future could be, specifically with the Jazz. And I think, of course, the defense needs to be addressed for him. You are not going to be, and especially Will Hardy has shown, you're not going to get consistent minutes if you're not going to play defense. However, the Jazz are just not a good defensive team right now. Say in a couple years, they draft the right people, bring in the right people, and they're all of a sudden a good defense, and they have the offensive foundational pieces to be a good team overall. Where does Bryce Sensabaugh fit into that? Does he start getting more minutes because you have enough good defenders around him that it doesn't really matter that he's not a good defender? Because, I could absolutely see Bryce Sensabaugh being like a Jamal Crawford, like Atlanta, Los Angeles Clippers sort of mold of 6-man coming off the bench. I would say Jamal Crawford was a ball stopper a lot of times. When he got later into his Clippers years, he definitely let Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and those guys get the ball more. But it's really interesting, and I don't know how well he will fit into a Will Hardy team eventually.
He's either going to have to become a much better defensive player and reduce his offensive role to being just a shooter, probably, because again, the touches aren't going to come in a starting lineup that also have Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the truth of it. And then you're going to run pick and roll with Walker Kessler, whoever the Jazz's center is going forward, and they're going to get touches. And that's just going to eat into what Bryce does. He's not going to get 15 a night. Some nights, maybe. Some nights that's the right role for him, but he also has to be good defensively. And the problem for Bryce is that neither Lauri or Keontae is good defensive players, but they're probably more valuable offensive players because Bryce may be a better, honestly, crazy, gifted scorer than even Keontae is. He may be more a natural scorer, getting to the mid-range, all this crazy stuff. he doesn't do any of the other things that make Keontae so valuable. Like Keontae is a legit point guard.
Yes.
He's a legit, like, I'm going to set the tone of the game. I'm going to get the flow going. I'm going to run at the right pace. I'm going to pick guys up when they need to be picked up. I'm going to slow it down when we need to slow it down. Like, he's not mastered, but he's figured all of those things out. And that's really valuable. And Bryce doesn't know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
And Lowry is just one of the best mismatches in all of the NBA. So you need to have him out there, and he's just an unbelievable shooter and scorer. So he needs to be out there. So Bryce being this good in Utah at those things is just a little redundant for the Jazz's roster versus a place that's like, awesome defensively that could really use a guy like that. And even then they don't match the bill now, but it's like that would be Orlando last year or 2 years ago, which is like, oh, we got this crazy defense. We can't score at all. Yeah. Can we find a guy to help do that?
Maybe even like Detroit this year. They talk about Lauri Markkanen, but they have an awesome defense.
Right. Could you use another guy who can go out and get buckets when you just need an isolation score? And Bryce can do that. So does it fit in Utah? I'm not ruling it out. Again, as I've said, the closer I get to the game, the more I recognize I just can't predict the future. Yeah. Like, I didn't see this coming from Keontae. Mm-hmm. In fact, I didn't see Lowry taking another step as a 28-year-old and becoming a player who's like, oh, you can't trade him. Like, unless you get an absolute insane package. And it's not even a package. Like, it's just an equally good player back now at this point. You're not just like, well, let me take some swings on things back for Lowry. Like, you have to get a guy. Yeah. Like, you have to get Paolo Banchero back now. I'm not kidding. Like, that's got to be the conversation now for Lowry. It's not, well, give us Jaden Ivey and your worst whatever other Tobias Harris and like the 29th pick.
Yeah.
Like, why would the Jazz do that? That's a horrible trade.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that now. You need guys back.
Yes.
Lowry's performing at that level. Not Brandon Pajemski and Jonathan Kuminga in the 30th pick. Like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I don't expect those things. I didn't see those coming. So I don't know what to see from Bryce. I'm not ruling Bryce out by any means. I'm just saying right now, if this is where he's going to stay, I don't know the best way to utilize him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the Jazz know either. If they did, they would be playing him that way.
I 100% agree. And I'm not ruling him out either. I just think Bryce's play style is very interesting for the Jazz because he has absolutely an amount of talent that you would want to keep
NBA
in your
player.
Yes.
No question about
100%. But it's like, okay, with everyone else, and I agree with you that Keontae, Lowry, probably even Ace are more important than Bryce is right now. So it's just an interesting question, but an absolutely crazy week from Bryce Sensabaugh. That's where all of this is stemming from.
And, it's better to do that than not do that.
Yes.
There are, like we'll talk about it in the mailbag, like Taylor was not in the rotation last night. Mm-hmm. Not until it was the fourth quarter and the game was over did Taylor Hendricks get on the floor. Like, and I'm not, again, Taylor's a totally different situation because he's coming back from the injury, but Taylor's got to prove he's an NBA player.
Yes.
I think Bryce is proving he's an NBA player. Yeah. Like, doing that against Chicago or doing that against Dallas, enough teams see that and are just like, oh, let's take a guy like that. Yeah. Bryce got a second contract out of that.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, those 3 games and some other big nights he's had, probably enough to get him his next paycheck, which in the NBA is going to be at least 2 years and $10 million. Like, that's 3 games. It could just carved him out $10 million. He's also done that against Orlando. He's done it against Miami. So good for Bryce.
Yes.
Overall, I don't know how it fits, but good for Bryce. You would rather do it than not be able to do it.
Anything else from the last week, or you want to look ahead?
No, there's some All-Star voting that came out. The one thing I would keep an eye on is 5 international players are already in the starters for the East and the West. Remember, you have to get to 8 international players to fill out your roster. That doesn't mean you can't go above that. Mm-hmm. You just have to have at least 8. I do think Lowry's best chance to make the All-Star team is to get picked up by the coaches as a reserve and not as one of the European players who's getting, or no, I shouldn't say European, I should say international players who gets brought up. So the 5 that are in are Giannis, Shea, Luka, Wemby, Jokic. Those are the 5 that have already been named All-Stars that are going to fill at least the 8 spots that there will be for international players. I think Jamal Murray is a lock. I think Denny Avdia is a lock. And I think Alperen Şengün's a lock. Now, those guys are, problem is they're all in the West.
Yeah.
And now you've met your quota for 8 international players to fill out the 8-man team because they're doing 2 American teams, 1 international team. They don't have to take Lowry if he doesn't get picked by the reserves now.
Yes.
By the coaches as a reserve. And I think that means that's his best pathway.
Is it 16 United States and 8 international?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 teams of 8.
Okay.
And then if you only end up with, like, let's say you had 10 international players and only 14 then American players, they would add 2 American-born players.
Okay.
To bring the rosters up.
Also worth mentioning, Jokic might not be healthy for the All-Star game.
He might not be.
So there might be
you never know.
Yes, an extra spot there.
Yeah, and that would be interesting to see because that wouldn't necessarily have to, like, you could bring in the most deserving American player to replace Jokic in the actual All-Star game and then go out and add another international player. I'm curious how they would do that. Maybe they would just go international player.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, worth keeping an eye on.
Yes.
But those starters were announced yesterday.
We can look ahead to the next week for the Jazz.
Yes,
3 games until we return next Monday. First up, and by the way, 6-game road trip. 6-game homestand. So all at home on these games. Going to host Minnesota. That game is tonight. Host San Antonio on Thursday, and then host Miami on Saturday.
And then they finish the homestand. Let's just go through it a little bit. Clippers, Warriors, Nets. I bet if the Jazz had their druthers, they would have the Nets like either tonight or tomorrow. Because the truth is, you're probably going to beat the Nets. Now, you would love to lose to the Nets.
Yeah.
If you lose to the Nets, this is one of those 2-for-1 games, and we'll update where the Jazz are in the standings coming up after this. But you're going to have to break a 4-game losing streak at some point. Like, I don't think the Jazz right now are going to lose 10 games in a row. You look at those last 10 games of the regular season, Jazz are absolutely going to lose 10 in a row, on purpose. They're going to lose 10. They're going to have their win total set, most likely with 10 games left in the season. I don't think they want to do that right now necessarily. So they're going to win one of these games to snap the streak. Now, it's probably not Minnesota on the second night of a back-to-back. It's probably not San Antonio just because San Antonio's good. Miami, very beatable. Clippers are playing well, still beatable in Salt Lake.
And that's a nationally televised game.
Golden State, beatable in Salt Lake, and Brooklyn's beatable in Salt Lake. We'll see how many of those games the Jazz win. But they're definitely going to lose the next 2.
Yes.
Timberwolves
agreed.
and Spurs, I think they lose both of those games. Then we'll see what they do Saturday against Miami.
Yeah. 1 and 2, 0 and 3?
Probably 1 and 2. They probably will go 2 and 4 on this homestand.
Okay.
I think they're probably
I like that.
comfortable with 2 and 4. Again, where the Jazz are right now, and we'll move into the standings now. The Jazz on the 6th worst record in the NBA. They're at 14 and 29. They are 2 wins ahead of the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn has just played 2 fewer games than the Jazz, so that's why there's the 1-game difference there. So New Orleans has the worst record, and they, Indiana, and Washington all have just 10 wins. Sacramento and Brooklyn both have 12 wins, and the Jazz have 14 wins. Again, wins are the only thing you really need to focus on at this point. Sacramento is 4 of their last 10 they've won, including it was a 4-game road or win streak. They're playing a little bit better. We are in the dog days. I just wonder if the veterans know how to win these games. Where the Jazz look tired to me. I mean, honestly, I think the Jazz young guys are like Walt can't hit a 3 now. All of a sudden, now he's been on the road. He'll probably shoot better when he gets home and recognizes the rims, but sleeps in his own bed. But look at everything Ace shoots. All of his threes, he banked one in yesterday, and then he made another one. But before that, I think every single 3 was short. He was hitting the front of the rim on a lot of them. It looks like Walt is throwing the ball at the rim to me a little bit. Like he's already got kind of a catapult shot, but he's really is throwing the ball. He's shooting. He's not just letting it go. It looks like he's trying to get it to the basket. I think young guys will get tired. So that's where the Jazz sit. They are 2 games now suddenly though back of Charlotte for the 6th seed. The Charlotte sitting in the 7th seed in the play or in the lottery. Charlotte is at 16 and 27, so it's a legitimate 2 games, 2 wins and 2 losses. And then Dallas has made significant room between the Jazz with those 2 losses. It's now 3.5 games between those 2. Remember, if the Jazz have the 6th worst record or worse, they're pretty much guaranteed to hold on to the pick. It's a 96% chance of holding on to the pick. Not guaranteed, but high likelihood. If they're at 7th, it's still 86%. So you still feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I think the Jazz are positioning themselves well. If they want to absolutely guarantee themselves to hold on to the pick, they'd have to end with the 4th worst record, which again, with what Brooklyn and Sacramento are doing, not totally out of the question.
No, absolutely not. If you look at the bottom 5 or 6 in the league, nobody has a worse over their last 10 than 2-8. The Jazz are 2-8. The Nets are 2-8. New Orleans and Washington are 2-8. But a lot of these teams, Indiana, I think that's Sacramento 4-6, and then even the Hornets 5-5. A lot of these teams are picking it up, and the Jazz are sort of going the opposite direction. We have a question about more about the standings that we can get into in the mailbag, but for the reverse standings enjoyers, it is looking good, I guess you could say, for the Jazz.
With 39 games left, the Jazz control their own destiny.
Yes.
And can do whatever they want to get there. Yep. They are showing how they can tank these games and lose these games and justify it by playing all their young players and just dressing but not playing Nurkic and dressing and not playing Kevin Love and Svi Mikhailiuk, et cetera. And we'll see how much Lowry plays the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to play at home at all.
True.
There's no player participation policy at home. It does apply on the road. So we'll see. Lowry just may not play a whole lot of games in Salt Lake City the rest of the way. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get your mailbag questions. Stick around. More Jazz Notes coming up next. Welcome back to the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, Chandler Holt. All right, as always, find us on Twitter at Ben's Hoops and C Holt Sports. Same as Blue Sky. Instagram, But if you want to reach out, every Monday I would send out a prompt. Today's Tuesday. I recognize that. Send out a prompt asking for your mailbag questions. You just respond there. We'll read them on the show. But as I got several, you can also DM me, Instagram, Facebook, IG, whatever, and I will generally see them. I know I miss them occasionally. If I do, I probably didn't mean to. I guarantee you I didn't mean to. And you can follow up and just say, hey, I think you may have missed this one. Can you address it next time on the show? So happy to do that. Let's start with some DMs. I got one from Todd Crow. Todd says, can you list the reasons why Taylor isn't playing very much? Taylor Hendricks was out of the rotation almost entirely. Again, as we said yesterday, played 5 minutes, no rebounds, no assists, no steals. I do think Taylor's struggling a little bit. He's just not played particularly well. Now, his shooting percentages are fine, 47% from the floor again this season, 36% from three, 77% from the free throw line. It's like exactly who he was as a rookie. It's funny. His shooting is a real thing. Yeah. It's a legitimate weapon. Problem for Taylor right now is that, like, I think you drafted him to be a good defensive player, and he just doesn't seem like he's in the right position a lot. Now, I could be way wrong on that, and there are defensive schemes that are like different, and how you're rotating and helping, and who's helping where, and how far they're supposed to be helping off, and are you supposed to have 2 feet in the paint? Do you want 1 foot in the paint? Where's your guy showing from? Are you disguising help? Like, there's a lot actually that goes into defenses.
Yes.
And when I look at the closeout that just clearly wasn't there, looks like that was Taylor's guy. That may have been somebody else's rotation that was supposed to come from the weak side. I don't know, whatever it is. So I'm not trying to just point all at one guy, but I do think we've seen some areas where Taylor is not in the right position, and that's one of his real pluses that he's supposed to bring right now.
Yeah. And also, again, I wasn't in the building when Taylor Hendricks was doing his rehab, but like you mentioned, we're in the dog days. Like, the younger guys are starting to, I don't want to say hit the rookie wall, but the length of the season is starting to sort of come to light for them. I don't know how much cardio Taylor Hendricks was able to do during his rehab. He was able to lift weights. He was able to shoot the basketball.
You're right, but it's not a shoulder or an elbow injury where you're like, well, at least I can be up and running.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful on that leg, I'm sure.
So I feel like I'm sure that factors into it a little bit as well, but I agree with you. He just, after a year of not playing basketball, again, I'm sure he watched film, but that is not the same as being in there doing it. I think there are a few reasons, but I still have faith in Taylor Hendricks. I still think the mold of player that he is, I think, will suit the Jazz if he can just reach that. And again, this is a gap year, if you want to call that, for him.
No question about it. This is fully a rehab year. And we said before the season, I'm not backing off this, I'm not judging Taylor Hendricks for anything at all. I'm not judging him for anything in the slightest. He just needs to get out there and play and regain his comfort. And when he does that, I think everything's going to be fine. Quickly, now look, these are all losses. So again, it's not like he's helping the team win. He's played 5 games this year where he's played at least 20 minutes. That's that's it. That's a really low number. Yeah. Now, he's only played in 31 games, I think it is. So, but in the 5 games he's played more than 20 minutes, he's had games of 20 points, 14 points, and 21 points. Now, he also had a game of 4 points, and he had a game of 7 points. But when he is shooting, which I think he's only had 2 games this year where he's attempted 10 shots, and I think that's the most he's attempted all year, he's scored 20 in both games. Yeah. So we just talked about that with Bryce. When Bryce gets 15 points or 15 shot attempts, he scores 20. When Taylor Hendricks gets 10 shot attempts, just 10, he scored 20 in both of those games. Yeah. 20 points on 10 shot attempts is insane. Awesome. Yeah. That's a perfect shooting percentage, right? That's 2 points per shot attempt. That's basically perfect. So good for him. So I'm not backing off Taylor at all. He's young. You already knew he was going to be a long-term developmental plan. Breaking his leg in the middle of that really set him back. But I do still think there's been enough of he's probably going to regain his form that he's fine.
Yes, agreed.
But he also has a lot of games. Let's look at his just recent games that he's played. He's going 1 shot, 6 shots, 1 shot, 2 shots, 4 shots. There's just not a lot of touches for him right now on this team. So, and I also think I think Cody Williams' emergence has stolen some of the opportunities for Taylor. And I'm sure some of that might be on purpose. The Jazz are still rolling out Cody. Cody's plus minuses generally aren't very good, so it allows you to lose games. But Cody's also doing a lot of good things right now.
Yes.
I think Cody's doing some things that actually you probably wish Taylor was able to do, which is he's moving the ball well. He's attacking the rim well. He's playing really good defense. I still think Cody's one of the Jazz's better defensive players. It's got to get a lot better. Yeah. It will when he gets a lot stronger, and he's still going to continue to get much bigger and stronger. I think that's going to happen with Cody. But he's doing some things that have probably put him in front of the rotation of Taylor, as has what we've seen from Ace Bailey, who continues to be really good.
Just really quick about Cody Williams, because I would feel like that's something we could have talked about in the first half. like the 3-pointer still is not there. And I don't think I think a lot of fans are coming to the term like, okay, he's just not a shooter. Like he's a forward, but that's not something to expect from him. His rookie year, he shot 32% from the floor. He's up to 45% from the floor now. Like, yeah, you have seen a lot of great stuff. And I'm pretty sure we have a question about defense over on X, so we can talk more about him then.
No, Cody's been, I don't want to say a revelation, but here, I'll go back. I'll just kind of pick. Let me go back to, let's go to the beginning of the new year, just so it's like a square date, January 1st. That's 11 games now. He's shooting 53% from the floor and 36% from three. Like, that's just a legitimate NBA player.
Yeah.
And he's averaging 9.4 points, 3.3 rebounds, 1.0 assists, half a steal, half a block. That's an NBA player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what an NBA player looks like. And it's not a top 3 player on your rotation. It's probably not a top 5 player on your rotation. But again, what have we said? Like, you got to have a 9th guy on your team.
Yeah.
Cody averaging 9, 3, and 1, shooting 53% from the floor and 36% from 3 is what a 9th guy in the NBA looks like. And again, we're talking about a 22-year-old who's probably appeared in 80 games in his career.
Yeah.
You know, like he's played maybe 1 full season in the NBA. Like, let him grow. Yeah. See what he actually does. Let his body evolve and develop. Again, Walker had a horrible second season and an awesome third year. Keontae had a horrible second season and an awesome third year. Like, give Cody a little bit of time and see what actually comes of this, because again, it's only 11 games. It's a small sample size, but 9, 3, and 1 on 53% from the floor and 36% from 3. And by the way, and I love this, I'm going to ask Will Hardy about this tonight. He doesn't demand shots. Like, yeah. We were talking about Bryce. Bryce demands shots. That's how Bryce impacts the game. I would imagine coaches love having a starting lineup with 5 players and only 4 of them does he need to draw up plays for. Mm-hmm. You know, Cody's not going to be pissed if he ends the game with 2 shots. Yeah, he's like not going to sulk. He's not going to put his head down and walk on the floor. By the way, I'm not saying that's what Bryce is going to do. Yeah, but we know for sure Cody's going to give you the same effort even if he's not getting shots. And I bet coaches love that. The guy who just comes in, does his job. If he scores 12 points, cool. If he scores 4 points, he brings the same approach. I'm gonna ask Will about that tonight.
Any more DMs or anything?
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that.
No,
let me go back to, all right, let me try and do it on Instagram here. Cash, what does a player need to do in order, I think this came after last week, it did. Mm-hmm. What does a player need to do in order to become a rotation player? Not a Keontae George-like jump, but for Flip or Zay to be a solid guy in the rotation next year. I think defense is going to be huge.
Defense, yeah.
If you can show that you're like a good defensive player, you're going to have such a head start on over everybody else, I think, of this young group outside of Keontae George and Ace Bailey. And by the way, Ace does try defensively, so I think that's been part of his big plus. But it's why Cody's playing right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think Cody tries really hard on defense, and it's like, yeah, you need that guy. And the Jazz are going to be better defensively next year. Again, we'll talk more about defense coming up. But like, you're going to be earning minutes next season on the floor by playing defense. So if you're proving to at least have some trust on that front, I think that's got to help.
I will say like the simplest thing, but also probably the biggest thing, you said it, is just effort. Like effort in games, effort in practice, like showing that you care. I think that is the biggest thing. And I'm like, this is not to say that, just to name those 2 guys, Zay and Flip, don't care, but it's like, if you come in every day and you have the same approach and that approach is 100% and you give it all the time, then it's like you're going to, first of all, like your coach is like, Will Hardy's going to care and he's going to see that you do that, but also you're going to improve. Like in areas that you need to improve, and the things you're already good at are going to get better. So
let's go back a little bit further than that. Let me pull it back to, again, I'm cherry picking these stats on purpose a little bit. Don't get me wrong, to like try and get the numbers to look a little bit better, but just to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not like I'm picking random games. I am going back. This is a straight line of games. Over his last 18 games, Isaiah Collier is shooting 32% from 3 on nearly 2 attempts a game. Like we've talked about, he doesn't need to be 38%. He probably needs to be 33%. If he can shoot 33% with his other skills, which is basically impossible to stop from getting into the paint. He loves that little Giannis. He's the 6'2" Giannis where he just throws his shoulder into you and then like hits the little floater. Yeah. He's really developed that as a go-to move. He also averaged 7.6 assists a game, like in 18, coming off the bench in 25 minutes. Yeah. 7 assists in 25 minutes is crazy. And he only turns the ball over 2.5 times a game. So he's got a 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. And he's kind of starting to shoot better from 3. It's coming together for him. He's playing well. Yeah. He's playing better than Flip is. Yes. Flip has had a pretty rough stretch, it feels like to me. He had some games last year. Again, remember, he had a 30-15 game last year. Like, Flip had some real breakout moments. And again, it was late in the season. It was a little bit of a nonsensical game against Portland. But we have not seen Flip kind of fill that role. And it just kind of goes back to, like, maybe the second season doesn't need to be what you determine the rest of a guy's career on. Like, I think Flip's still going to be fine. he had a good rookie season. He dominated the summer league and probably came into the year thinking like, I got it made.
Yeah.
Watch this. And then the league is like, yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
And he'll be better next year, I would imagine. But he has not had a great sophomore season. Yeah. One more on the DMs really quickly. Let me make sure I get to this. I apologize here. Man, I'm bad at this. I apologize. Geez, let me find it really quick. We might have to edit this one out. Probably don't need to. It'll be just fine. John Ebenezer says, hey, Ben, you missed this question last pod, but probably the best since it applies more next week. With the deadline looming, he'd like to hear mine and your thoughts on it as well for the trade deadline for the Jazz.
Just like if we think people will get moved, who will get moved? Stuff like that.
I'll start, and you can feed off it if you want. I think it's interesting that the couple of things that really matter. Mm-hmm. The two teams that were kind of in the running for Lowry, the big conversation between the two big name teams, were the Golden State Warriors, who just lost Jimmy Butler for the season with a torn ACL. The truth is Lowry by himself just doesn't make enough of a difference now on that team. So they probably don't trade him, right? In fact, this is your opportunity to just play Jonathan Kuminga 1,000 minutes now if you want to. Just like go take all those minutes from Jimmy Butler, put him in the starting lineup, and let him play. You're not going to win a title anyways. Yeah. Might as well fully see what you have, and if you can trade him in the next 2 weeks because you let him go out there and play a lot, great. Or you trade him in the offseason. I think they've got a team option, or maybe he's got a player option, whatever it is. But I think that they were probably already just kind of eliminated from getting Lowry. I think that really takes them out. Detroit remains really interesting because Detroit is so far and away better than everybody else in the East. Yeah. That they should go make the finals this year. Yeah. And if you want to go make the finals this year, you should throw everything at the Jazz to get Lauri Markkanen. That would be my thought. And in fact, everybody in the Eastern Conference right now should say, what do we have to do to get Lowry, if we can even get him out of Utah, which I'm very, very skeptical of. But everyone should be trying to get Lowry right now to make a jump because the East is so wide open. Yeah. And maybe I'm just discrediting Detroit being a really good team. Detroit is just a really good team. Yeah. But if they were to add Lowry, that's a great, great team. Yeah. They have a chance. They have a chance to win a championship this year. I'd still take whoever comes out of the West over Detroit. But also remember, San Antonio has to play OKC, and OKC has to play Denver, and Denver has to play Wemby. These teams are just going to kick each other's butt. Including Houston's in this mix. You guys are going to go through an absolute gauntlet playing 7-game series. You're a good team in the East. You might skate to the finals, and then you're like, yeah, we're fresh. We feel good. You guys are beat up. Go beat each other up in the West and then come and play us. It's kind of how I think Indiana almost won the title last year. They skated relatively easily through. I know they had a couple of good series, but they had an easier run through the East than anybody did in the West. And then all of a sudden you get to the finals and you're exhausted and you almost lose in 7 games. I would be trying to replicate that if I were Detroit, and I would just load up on every player I could.
I don't think that the Jazz, like you said, are actively trading Lauri Markkanen. But I think Lowry might be at this trade deadline the best player who the team will listen to your offer on.
Yeah, I could listen to that.
Yeah, since the East is so wide open, I don't think the Bucks are doing anything with Giannis. Maybe it comes in the offseason, but even though they're not,
it's just hard to do in the season, anyways. Yeah.
So I agree with you, and I think the Detroit does make a lot of sense. I don't know what that package would look like, but it's, since the East is open, if you can go from really good to great, you should take that shot. Other than that, I don't know. It's so hard to say because Kevin Love has really thrived in Utah, both on the court and in the locker room. So it's easy for me to say, oh, he's played well. Maybe a team will take a flyer on a veteran like that. But I don't know. I don't expect anything big from the Jazz at the trade deadline.
Yeah, the funny thing is I don't know if Kevin Love just is going to make you win games anyways, and he's clearly fine not playing. Yes. So if you like having him around, just keep him around. Exactly. And maybe you want to have him next year on the team. And maybe the vibes are good enough while he's around to just say hey. I said this on my show today. I think this is true. I think Jazz fans should brace themselves for this. I think these next 39 games might be the most brutal of the entire rebuild. Oh. They're going to be the least authentic. Last year entirely was inauthentic, but Keontae was not good last year. Yeah. So you played him a lot and he just wasn't very good. Cody wasn't good last year. You played him a lot, he just wasn't very good. The Jazz are better today than they were last year. Mm-hmm. And now you have to you're going to have to sit Keontae for 20 games over these last 39. I don't think he can play 39 games in a row here and the Jazz to finish where they want to finish. And again, we'll talk about this because we've got a question coming up. I think there's a real chance that these are the most tanked games. The Jazz have to try the hardest to tank these games over the next 39, I should say, to end up where they want to hold on to this lottery pick. So it might be really difficult. And if it's going to be that difficult, maybe having like the best locker room guy in the NBA and Kevin Love to keep everyone's heads calm. He's been on 15-win teams before, to just kind of break the mood for everybody, just like make everything palatable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just keep him around for that reason.
Yeah.
Versus like whatever second-round pick you're going to get from the New York Knicks for him. Now, if someone's offering you a pick in the 30s, I think you have to take it. That's a good pick for the Jazz, especially because their pick this year belongs to the San Antonio Spurs. The Jazz don't have an early second this year. If you could get that, you do it. You probably trade Nurk just because he helps you in games and it makes it easier to not play him. But I don't know if you have to trade anybody this year. I will also say this. We so overvalue young players in the NBA. 5 years from now, because remember, we did this 2 years ago with Brandon Podziemski and Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
It's what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Do you think the Pistons would really regret trading Asar Thompson for Lauri Markkanen 2 years from now? Is Asar going to be that good?
Yeah.
Is Ron Holland going to be that good? And even if you have to give up both of them, are they going to be that much better than what Lowry is right now? Is either of them combined? Are they going to be? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is either of them individually? Almost guaranteed no. Asar Thompson's a very good player. He's averaging 14, 6, and 4. He can't shoot at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to create a lot of baskets. I don't know, man. I get he's an awesome defensive player. I do get it. Also, there's a reason Herb Jones slips to 30 in the draft very regularly. We just don't value defensive players very much in the league. You can get those guys, not with the number 6 overall pick. It's really hard to find 7-footers who shoot 40% from the three-point line, especially playing the way they are right now.
Yeah.
That just never stop moving and add elite size and scoring to your roster. Just think overall Lowry's more valuable than all those guys, which A, Jazz should just hold on to him. But B, if you're Detroit and you think this is your chance to win a championship, drawing the line at Asar Thompson's probably a mistake.
Yeah. This is probably a terrible example, but I don't think the Warriors regret trading Andrew Wiggins for Jimmy Butler, even though Jimmy Butler hasn't worked out.
Right, absolutely.
And Andrew Wiggins won a championship with them.
Right, absolutely right.
So it's I think that is sort of a comparable thing that okay, you gave up youth to get a better player, but it's okay, Andrew Wiggins is the same Andrew Wiggins he was when he was with you.
Andrew Wiggins again, we always do this, we forget, AJ DeBonce is the greatest prospect I've ever seen, or Cooper Flagg's the greatest prospect I've ever seen. People don't remember how we talked about Wiggins.
Maple Jordan.
Maple Jordan. Wiggins is the single best can't miss prospect we've had since LeBron. You have to have him. They traded him for Kevin Love, who love Kev. Kev was the third best player on that team. Now he was good. He was an all-star, but he was the third best player on a championship team. That's exactly what Lauri Markkanen should be, right? The third best player on a championship team who fills all the gaps. We'll do some rebounding, we'll shoot some threes, not a great defensive player, but certainly helps you win games. And they traded Wiggins for him, and they won a championship.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the right move, no questions asked. A+, brilliant move. They got the number 1 overall pick. In the draft, you have to get the number 1 overall pick in. And they traded it for Kevin Love, and they did nothing but reap the rewards. They did nothing but celebrate a title, hang the first banner ever in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And they will remember it forever.
Yes.
And you're going to be Asar Thompson, though. I don't know, man.
Hey, imagine that Cleveland team with Andrew Wiggins.
He's not even the best player in his family, and you're going to not... anyways, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But just don't overvalue your young players.
Yes.
If the stars become available, they are better than your young players.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's better than Jalen Green.
Yes.
It's better to go get those guys. So anyways, that's my approach if I were a Pistons fan. I'd be go get Lowry. Asar or Ron Holland or both. Lowry's better than they are.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think the Jazz will hold on to Lowry for that very reason.
Over to X now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. First up from Sam, he says, where do you think the Jazz will end up in the lottery odds by the end of the season? A couple of things here. As I mentioned, a lot of the teams down near where the Jazz are winning more than the Jazz are right now, sort of heading in opposite directions for a lot of them. Also, right now the Jazz are 6th in the reverse in the lottery odds.
Uh-huh.
Like what happened last year, which is kind of scary, but they would need 3 teams outside of the bottom 4 to jump into the 4 in order for them to lose their pick. So if I'm not mistaken, if they were 5th, they would need all 4, which I don't even know if that's ever happened before.
Right.
So I think to have a 0% chance to lose your pick, the Jazz need to be one of the 4 worst teams in the NBA.
Let me look. Did it happen last year? Because the Jazz dropped 4 spots. Mm-hmm. 4 teams jumped the Jazz.
Yes. It was the Mavericks, the Spurs, and then The 76ers.
And then Charlotte.
Charlotte was the
also,
one who kept.
They
stayed in the top
They
4.
stayed at 4. Stayed in the top 4. So, yeah, could you fall? Yes, you can fall from 5 to 9, conceivably. Again, the odds are extremely low that would happen.
0.1.
Here, I'll pull it up. If you get to 5, your odds, if you have the 5th worst record, your odds of falling to 9 and delivering the pick are 0.6.
Yeah.
Again, not impossible, but this isn't just one team jumping you or one team jumping up like Dallas having a 1.8% chance. It's 4 teams jumping you. So, again, the Jazz may say that's too big of a risk for us.
Yeah.
0.6 is too big of a risk. We've wasted this whole season. You absolutely can't waste an entire season of wins to still have a chance of giving up your draft pick.
Yeah.
Like maybe they will feel that way and they say, we're going to get to the 4th worst record. We're going to win 7 games the rest of the year and we're going to finish with a record of 21 and whatever that would be, 61. They could say that. They could say that.
Yeah.
And I would understand why they did. Again, like what you don't want to do is like tell the owner, like, this is the right way to do it, lose these games, and then be like, ooh, we actually gave up the pick to the top team in the West already. Just like carelessly. So I understand the value of just saying like, yeah, we're going to get to 4 hell or high water. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I agree.
I think they will probably go into lottery night with the 5th or the 6th worst record.
Yes.
And just say 96% chance or better that we hold on to it, and a 35% chance you move up into the top 1. And then truthfully, you might as well just get to 5. If you're going to be at 6, see if Sacramento can jump you or Brooklyn can jump you. Or, again, maybe New Orleans still puts it together or Indiana puts it together and makes a run late in the season. It is still only 4 wins separating those teams over the next 40.
I don't even want to get into this, but New Orleans is just a
I can't believe the Pelicans
fire.
absolutely can't fix it. I mean, they have the worst record in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Tied, or worse because they have one more loss than the Pacers, yes.
Worst record in the NBA, simply cannot figure it out.
And it's crazy. It's like we could say, like we said for other teams, like, oh, they don't want to lose games, so like maybe they'll jump, but it's like they're terrible.
I watch Atlanta, and I'm just like, man, Atlanta's really disappointing this season. They were one of the teams I thought was cool. I thought they had a good offseason, and they're just like, they're in the play-in in the West or in the East right now. I think they're in 10th or something. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. They got the number 1 pick coming to them. Like they've got a top 5 pick coming. They haven't had to earn it at all. It's just like one of the great acquisitions of all time and one of the stupidest trades I've ever seen. I remember working it on draft night, not understanding it. So good for Atlanta, and hey, good for the Jazz. That's a top 5 pick going East.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like you don't want New Orleans getting that pick. Yeah. That was a great trade for the Jazz too. You wish the Jazz had gotten involved in it.
Yes.
But you even better, or not better, but at least it's going to the Eastern Conference and not staying in the West. But I do think the Jazz, if I had to guess, I think the Jazz will finish with the 5th worst record.
I was about to say, back to the question, I trust at least one of, if not both of Sacramento and Brooklyn to finish with a better record than the Jazz. So one of the 5 worst records.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn is good.
I agree.
As we're talking to Lowry to Detroit, they should just go get Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
And he'd cost less. You can probably do it for Jaden Ivey, even though it's not like they need more point guards, but like maybe Ron Holland, Jaden Ivey, and Tobias Harris. The nice thing about that, though, if you're the Jazz, like those guys might actually help Brooklyn win a couple of games, too. Like Tobias Harris knows how to play.
Yes.
And unless they're benching him, which they may just bench him. We'll see, though. But I would say I think 5 is the sweet spot right now for the Jazz.
Agreed.
I've kind of gone through their schedule, and as I do it, I look at like a 3-game stretch. So they can win 1 game, 4 game, whatever. I kind of have them right there at like I've come out with 23 and I've come out with 26.
Okay.
So it'll be somewhere in that range. They're not going to finish with like 21 wins. That would be 7 the rest of the way over 3 months. That's hard to do.
Next question from Josh Chisholm. What pathway do you see the Jazz taking to get better at defense? Getting Walker back helps theoretically, but they've got to add some perimeter defense at some point, right?
Yeah. You will just go out and you'll sign players that play defense this summer. I mean, that's that simple.
Yeah, I think it's free agency. Like you think about Detroit, they brought in, it was like, I think it was Tim Hardaway, Tobias Harris, another guy, and all of a sudden they just jump because you have veterans and they're better at defense.
They know how to play.
Yeah. So I think it's that. And then I think, like we've talked about Cody Williams, like in Cody Williams, like on his current trajectory, in 2 years, he'll be an actually like good defender in like the scale of the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and like maybe you can rely on Taylor Hendricks to be a 20-minute per game, 70 game a year guy, and then Walker's back. Like I think the pieces start to come together. It is just not really in favor because of age and Walker's injury and other stuff for the Jazz right now.
Yeah, your center rotation is Walker Kessler and Daniel Gafford.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to Yusuf Nurkic and Kevin Love and Kyle Filipowski. It's like, so you just have some type of rim protection for 48 straight minutes, and then you go out and, you acquire Nickeil Alexander-Walker or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You go out and get these guys who know how to play a little bit of defense, and conceivably Keontae gets better, and when those guys are playing better, Lowry's defense looks better. Because Lowry I actually think does a lot well. I just think the defense as a whole is so bad that, like, even if you play well for one possession, they just screen you off. And then all of a sudden you're being defended by a bad player. Not a bad player, a bad defensive player.
Yeah.
And you're in trouble. But it's like, yeah, there are good defensive guys. Like, there are good defensive players in the NBA. And I think actually the Jazz have a few on their roster already. So it's going to be like, yeah, Walt Clayton's got to get into NBA shape. Like, I'm not saying he's not in shape, but like playing 82 game shape. And I think he'll be a fine defensive player. I think Isaiah's going to be a fine defensive player. I think Cody's going to be a fine defensive player. I think Taylor has a chance to be a fine defensive player. Same with Lowry and Key. And then you bring Walker back. And then, yes, you go and add 3 actually good defensive players. And all of a sudden the defense makes some sense.
We have a few more defense questions, so let's stay on the topic. First up from Scally Nation. What's the problem with the Jazz's defense? Is it miscommunication, scheme, talent? Is there hope for next year by adding 1 or 2 players to dramatically improve?
Yeah, because dramatically is going from 30th to 20th for the Jazz. Yeah. That's the nice thing, because the Jazz's pathway back to like being a playoff team is going to be going from the 30th best defensive team to the 20th and going from the 12th best offensive team to the 5th.
Yeah.
Now, the 5th offensive team is going to be a breeze. Yeah. They're going to jump up to being a great offensive team in no time. Yes. I don't think that's going to be hard for the Jazz to do at all. Then you just have to have a passable defense, which is, you know what, that's how Indiana got to the finals. Yeah. They had a passable defense, like pretty mediocre, and a great offense. And I think that's what the Jazz are going to have to look like as well.
Next up from C. Scott, he says, outside of internal development with their youth, what is the biggest area of need for Utah to become a contender? And he said, looking for your opinion on a player archetype. Honestly, I would think like maybe this is Ace Bailey, even though I don't think he projects as a 2, but like a 2-3 that is a really good defender. Like if you get Darren Peterson, he already projects as an NBA defender.
Yeah. AJ DeBonsa. Yeah. AJ's got to get better defensively. Like, people keep celebrating. They're like, AJ hasn't committed a foul in 6 weeks. I'm like, foul somebody. Yeah. Fouls are good.
Use your fouls.
They give you 5. Yeah, you should use them. Like, every time not fouling, unless you're getting a steal or a block, every time is bad. Yeah. Actually, commit a foul. That's fine. But I think AJ is going to be a good defensive player. So, yes, somebody like that. Ace certainly fits that archetype. Like, Ace can be a 2 or a 3, though he may project more as a 3-4, which is, I think, what you and I have thought. But, that's what Paul George was, and Paul George was a heck of a defensive player in his prime. So exactly. Something like that would be very beneficial for the Jazz if you could get that guy. Rudy Gobert as a 5 would be great. In all honesty, like getting a true defensive wizard in the paint would be huge for the Jazz. And Walker's good. He's not that. He's not that type of a defensive player. So Walker will certainly help. Yeah. A guy, I mean, you need switchable guys, right? You need guys who can go out there and guard 3 or 4 positions and switch all over the floor. And I think Cody's going to be able to do it, and I think Ace is going to be able to do it. Isaiah might be able to. He's pretty strong. Lowry's shown certainly more effort defensively. Actually, I think a 5 who can guard a lot of positions would be really beneficial for the Jazz. And maybe it's just like a small ball 5. Maybe it's a guy who doesn't play 40 minutes, but maybe he's a 4-5 who can get on the floor with Walker and then kind of switch everywhere. Yeah. Draymond, as much as we talk about like this death lineup for the Warriors, which was the death lineup with Draymond, they went really small. Draymond also played a lot of 4 in their primes because they had Bogut's, or they had, guys like Bogut. I know his name was not Andrew Bogut's. They had Bogut. They had even JaVale McGee. Like they had guys to play the 5, and then you would have a 4 who would switch everywhere, including the 5, and on to the 1. If you could find a 4 that was really switchy, that'd be beneficial.
Another defense question from James Vaughn. He says, do you think having Walker back would be enough to form a defensive identity? Also, in the offseason, should we try to acquire a player that's defensive-leaning a la Peyton Watson or more offensive-driven like Austin Reeves? Honestly, I didn't even read this question before I said what I said. Peyton Watson would be, perfect.
Peyton Watson would be a dream signing for the Jazz this summer. Yeah. Peyton Watson, and I think he's unrestricted, right? I think he's an unrestricted free agent. Maybe he's not. I think we talked about it a little bit last week on the show. I'd have to go look at it. I think he's unrestricted, though. That would be an absolute dream. Yeah. He is exactly the type of player, because also he's a great offensive player. Suddenly he's averaging 30 points a game. No, what you need is Aaron Gordon, right? Like, you need prime Aaron Gordon coming from Orlando and going to Utah and being recast as not a number 1 guy in Orlando, but a number 3 guy in Denver. Yeah. That's what the Jazz need to find. Who do you find the guy who was miscast as a number 1 somewhere who comes in as your 3rd best player?
And I do think having Walker back would help. I don't think it's enough to form an entire defensive identity, because I don't think the Jazz have any defensive identity right now. 0. And I think that defenses do start with your center. Peyton's
going to be restricted, by the way. Yes, he'll be a restricted free agent this summer, Peyton Watson. So if you want to go out and throw a bunch of cash at him, Denver doesn't have the money to keep everybody around. You certainly could. But you know what? So is Brooklyn. Yeah. Like I think Peyton Watson's going to be maybe the top free agent name you see as far as restricted guys go.
So I think Walker at back will definitely help, but I think you need to add some of these pieces like we're talking about. See development from Cody Williams and Taylor Hendricks, because the defensive identity, it runs deeper than one position. Although Walker coming back will definitely help.
Yeah, you got to get backups who can play defense at every position.
Yes.
Is the truth. Like you got to go out and you got to have at least one person at every position who can play pretty good defense. I think if you're going to be able to compete.
Shout out to Hato. He also basically asked about Jazz active at the deadline, but he does ask, moving on from any young guys, I would be shocked if the Jazz traded a 24 and under guy.
If Minnesota really needs a point guard, like if Minnesota came to the Jazz and was like, we gotta have Isaiah Collier, like we think Isaiah Collier can come in and start or play, like you'd probably listen. Yeah. And I like Isaiah a lot. I think Isaiah's played really well. The reason he would get a call is because he's played well.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need exactly that. It's a guy who gets downhill, who can create movement that way. You play him in the pick and roll maybe with Rudy. Maybe there's some help there. Now, he's not a floor spacer. He doesn't shoot the three well. Maybe that's all you need as a point guard who really shoots. But, like, they don't want to play Rob Dillingham at all.
Yeah.
Like, my question was, like, would you trade Rob Dillingham for Isaiah Collier? I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Like, probably not. I was never a big Rob Dillingham fan anyways because he's just so little. But he can really score, and he was a former lottery pick, and Isaiah Collier dropped to 29 for a reason. Like, maybe you do that.
Yeah.
They don't want to play. They're playing Bones Highland over Rob Dillingham right now. Like, maybe you would do that. I don't know. Could you get a second-round pick also on top of it? Like, that's where I'm kind of like, I guess there's a world where a team needs a point guard. Houston needs a point guard.
Yeah.
Like, would Isaiah make sense for them? Maybe. Like, Isaiah would. He's a good player. Would the Jazz want to get rid of him at this point?
True.
I don't think there's any need to.
Yeah.
See how good he can get.
I think eventually there will be a pick 2 situation between Keontae, Isaiah, and Walt Clayton, but I don't think that's for a while.
And I don't think we know who it is yet.
Yeah.
I think Keontae is one of them.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it's Walt or... Like, I loved Walt in the draft. Like, what if he's not a great player?
Yeah.
Then you'd be really bummed if you lost out on Isaiah, because Isaiah can start for 25 games a season if Keontae goes down and be really good. So, the nice thing is you don't have to make decisions on these guys.
Yes.
Like, we were talking about Bryce to start the show. Like, you don't have to just choose on Bryce until 2027, next summer. Not this summer, next summer. Like, no rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Go sign someone to play in front of him and see if he still develops, and then great. Like, that doesn't matter. That is where the Jazz are still pretty well positioned. There's not that many pressing matters on this team right now. Walker, certainly. Got to decide on what you're doing with Walker this summer. But, like, you could trade Walker in the next 2 weeks if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do anything. And being restricted, you can pay him whatever you want to. So the Jazz are still in the catbird seat with all of these young players. Yes. That's the nice thing.
Last question, I believe, from Jesse. He said, I saw Bryce grab the game ball after his career high in Chicago. Do you have any insights on how often guys take a game ball home for first points, career highs? What other milestones have Jazz players kept game balls for? Also curious what guys do with the balls after.
I ask guys about their trophy case quite a bit. I've asked that a lot. Bryce probably doesn't have that many trophies. He may have been Gatorade Player of the Year or whatever, wherever in Florida. Probably wasn't, though. Florida's like a great high school basketball state. So I'm sure he just has a little trophy case and keeps it with whatever trophies he won in AAU and whatever. I haven't seen a lot of Jazz players taking game balls. Certainly some first points. I've seen that. The Jazz will go and get the ball. I'm sure. I know Lowry got one for his first 50-point game. Okay. Is it his only 50-point game, or has he done it twice this year?
I think it was just once, because I think
he had all those 40-point games. Yeah. But he broke 50, and he definitely kept that game ball, if I remember correctly. It is a weird look to keep a game ball after losing. Yeah. To like walk off like. Yeah. Just lost to the Bulls. Yeah. Keeping the game ball. And again, I totally understand. Like, he scored 43. He had a hell of a game. Like, it was good for Bryce. I'm not criticizing it. It's just like,
Yeah, it's funny.
It's funny to lose to the Bulls in a game your team is tanking and be like, game ball. Anyways. So, you do see that. Guys keep shoes. And I talked about this last week, too, a little bit. Like, the league has so many different, like, patches now on jerseys. Like, NBA debut patch. Like, that patch then goes to the NBA. The first game you ever play. So, like, they can keep it to sell to Topps and then, or whoever it is, Fleer, if Fleer still makes basketball cards. And, like, then they chop it up and sell it for thousands and thousands of dollars. So, I don't see it a lot, but people hold on to jerseys. And then the jersey swap has just become so big now.
I was going to talk about that. Dude, like, do you think NBA players just have like a bunch of other dudes' jerseys hanging in their house somewhere?
So Keontae is the one who I've asked about this. Like he has a white whale. He's trying to get Russell Westbrook's jersey, and I don't know if he's gotten it yet. He's a huge Russ fan. And he said he was working with Kyle Anderson, who knows Russ well.
Yeah.
Might have been even the same draft class.
Yeah.
I can't remember. No, but UCLA guys. That's their connection, both UCLA guys. But I asked Key, like, what's his best jersey he has? And he has Cade Cunningham. He's like, I'm stoked on it. I'm like,
Okay.
You're older than Cade, right? Like, no, Cade's a little older, I guess. Cade came in a little bit before, but like, you guys are the same age. You guys are peers.
Yeah.
Like, and you're really good.
Yeah.
Like, Cade's great. Don't get me wrong. Cade's going to be like top 5 MVP this year. But I always thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But last night we saw Ace and Dylan Harper swap jerseys.
Yes, which was cool.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
But like I laughed about it. We saw Oscar Tshiebwe and Jonathan Kuminga because they're both from Congo. Like they did a jersey swap in a game that neither of them played in.
Yeah.
I'm like, you literally could have bought that jersey at the store. It's not a game worn jersey. They didn't get the game. Like just buy his jersey. So that's what a lot of it is. That's what a lot of the memorabilia is like a jersey swaps now at this point.
I'm curious if they just have like a closet full of other dudes' jerseys though, or if they like frame them.
I think some of them do get framed. I do think some of them guys just have jerseys hanging out. I think Chris Paul has like a crazy collection.
Okay.
Who did Key tell me? I think he has a Spurs Chris Paul jersey.
Okay.
Which is like the worst one. You know what I mean? Like New Orleans would be the best.
Yeah.
Clippers would be second best. Maybe his little stint in OKC.
Well, that would be cool. I think Suns would be cool. Went to the
Suns,
title.
yeah, they went to the finals. That's true. I can't remember what he said. I think he said it was Spurs though. Like I think he's only been on 3 teams since he saw him. So it must have been that it must have been the Spurs.
I wonder.
I think I even said to him, "I was like, oh, that's too bad," or something. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I wonder if anyone has the 17 games that started this year Clippers Chris Paul jersey.
Yeah,
that might be the best one.
Yeah. The Rasheed Wallace Hawks jersey, the 1 game Hawks jersey, legendary. How do you get that jersey? So, anyways, I think that's. Yeah, they just have. I think some guys frame them. I'm sure like Keontae would frame Russ.
Yeah.
Is he framing like? I think he has Kobe Buffkins. You know what I mean? Like, are you framing Kobe Buffkins jersey? Like probably.
Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Kobe Buffkins.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it.
Oh, all right. I think that's it for mailbag.
Okay. They were in the same draft class. I think they grew up together. So like that's cool. Like you got your friend's jersey.
We have some late entries.
Oh, okay.
Next from Codon. Hi Ben, 2 draft questions. Do you think the Jazz would make a move to get another pick in the late first round?
No.
I agree. Assuming the Jazz get 5th to 8th pick, who will they take? A guard, a big, or a wing?
Best player available.
Best player available.
The 5th pick?
5th to 8th, he said, and he mentioned Fleming's, Quaintance, or Ament.
Man, it's hard.
Yeah.
Again, I just haven't watched any of these guys, truthfully. Like, Jaden Quinn's just barely got on the floor again for Kentucky. And Kentucky's been horrible this year, but he has made a difference.
Yeah.
Nate Ament's like not played well at all against good teams. Like he's kind of had this weird thing. And who was the other one? You mentioned
Quaintance, I think he said.
No, he said Quentin's played for Kentucky.
Fleming's?
Mentioned Ament Fleming's. Yeah.
Guard.
Yeah. Like, do the Jazz need another point guard?
No.
Probably not. Like, that's kind of my thought is there are 2 point guards like right in that 5, 6, 7 range that are people like, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jazz would go that way. Again, I think if the Jazz get 5, 6, or 7, they're trading it. I'm not kidding. I think like if the Jazz get top 4, you've got a very clear top 4.
Yes.
And you hold on to 4 on draft night because there's a chance that Cam Boozer falls to 4. Yeah. Like there is a chance that happens. I don't think he'd fall to 5, but AJ and Darren have kind of seems like they have locked themselves in as the top 2. Mm-hmm. Then I think Cam Boozer's clearly 3, but Caleb Wilson at North Carolina. Again, I've seen the top 3 guys because they're always on TV. I've watched Caleb Wilson a little bit because I've watched North Carolina a little bit, but I'm not watching full games. I'm doing it on purpose, by the way, too, because it's like I don't want to fall in love with a guy or develop an opinion on a guy in December.
Yes.
And then be like, well, now I have to justify that in May because that's what I said in December. Like, I try to not watch these guys on purpose. So they all kind of enter at the same spot. That's why I do this. It's not just laziness, but the Jazz season is very time consuming. But I do wonder if a team would take Caleb Wilson 4, and then Cam Boozer drops to, or 3, and then Cam Boozer drops to 4.
Yeah. And
then you're like, oh man, that's one of the guys.
Yes.
The same way Ace Bailey fell to a 5.
I was gonna say I don't know about this time last year. Maybe like it was October instead of January, but like I'm pretty sure Ace Bailey was like the consensus number 2 pick in the draft at that time.
And the top three were Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, and Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
And Cooper was one, but like that was the top three, and you ended up getting one of those guys at 5.
Yeah.
So like you might wait till draft night to do it, but I think if the Jazz end up 5, 6, 7, and like it's point guards on the board, I think you're trading the pick.
Yeah.
Honestly. And like that's how do you all the questions we got. How do you get better defensively? What type of player are you looking to add? Like Peyton Watson, you know what I mean? Like that's where you get Peyton Watson.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden he's gonna cost $25 million a year. Denver's notoriously cheap ownership is like, no way in hell can we pay this guy.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go $200 million over the like into the luxury tax. But you can get the 6th pick and be like, I think Koa Pete can do some of those same things, or Nate Ament can do some of those same things. And he keeps our timeline alive, and the Jazz are like, awesome. We'll take your already developed Peyton Watson that you did all the hard work on, and he's ready to step in and play now.
Like, and a pick.
Yeah, right. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, yeah, here's the 8th pick, and we'll take your 28th pick. So, could the Jazz trade into the late first? Yes, by trading back from 8 to whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even think the Nuggets have picks, but yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah. I could absolutely see something like that.
Yeah, sure. And then last question, another one from Kodon, I believe, says, question about Nurkic. Do you see him as a fit for the Jazz in the next season? What is an estimated contract he should get?
I don't think he's going to get that much, but he is unrestricted, and he's probably going to be one of the better unrestricted centers. Mm-hmm. What did Jonas Valanciunas get? Because did he sign this offseason, or did he get traded to Denver? Now, he hasn't played very much because he's hurt.
Because there was a thing about him signing. He's like, I might go overseas.
Yeah, he got traded. I think Sacramento traded him, and he thought, I might go, and they said, you're already under contract, buddy. You got to come here. He was traded. He makes $10 million this year. So I'm just going to say $10 million. Yeah. I'm just going to go right out there with 10.
And I think he does absolutely fit. Of course, he will likely, maybe even better word, hopefully be the backup behind Walker Kessler.
He's a backup center. Yeah, he's not a starter.
But as you mentioned earlier, maybe he's a guy that you trade and eventually look to upgrade a backup center to the guy you said from the Mavericks.
Gafford. Yeah, right. I've really enjoyed the Nurk experience. I think he's really fun to watch. He's enjoyable around in the locker room. He's very quiet, but when we have talked to him, he's given us, I think, maybe the most memorable press conference so far this year was from Nurk. I thought he was incredible. I put it up on my Instagram page at Ben's Hoops. You can go back and look at some of the clips. Maybe I didn't put it on my Instagram page. I definitely tweeted it out. You can go back and scroll through. But no, he's been totally fine. And the nice thing about Nurk, again, is we just talked about Isaiah. Don't trade Isaiah because if your starter gets hurt, he can come in and play 25 games. Same with Nurk. Nurk can be your backup, and in a pinch, Walker Kessler blows up his shoulder, Nurk can come in and start 70 games. Yeah. And you're like the Jazz aren't trying to win, but he's very serviceable. Yeah. Nurk's a good player.
Agreed.
In fact, again, I floated this last week. They're good right now, so they probably don't want to disrupt anything. But Boston needs a better center. If they wanted to cut salary, would they do Anthony Simons for Nurk? Anthony Simons is probably not the reason they're winning a bunch of games. Yeah. Right? And are you going to trust Nimi Keita in the playoffs? Now, are you going to trust Nurk in the playoffs? I don't know. Yeah. But Nurk's been there. Sure. Nurk's played a lot in his career. Nimi Keita's not ever been there. At the very least, wouldn't it be nice to have an answer? Yeah. Maybe that's the type of team I would keep an eye on. Is yeah, we actually do need a improved starting center or a guy we could at least play and we'll still shave some money. It's just types of things like that I would keep an eye on. Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for the mailbag.
Long show today, but fun to have Chandler back. We will be back with you again on Monday. I think I'm recording Thursday. I don't know. Okay. But we'll definitely be back next Monday with another Jazz Notes podcast. As always, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ben's Hoops and C Holt Sports. Read us at KSLSports.com. You can find this episode on YouTube. It looks like we're still recording.
Yes.
And we'll be back with you next week.